Good morning, everyone. I think it's a pleasant morning this time, and beautiful city of Amsterdam, all set for the safeguarding LLM models. Let's get started with this very interesting safe topic on how to govern our large language models, right? I'm really glad that today the initial session breakout happened with the emphasis on two things. One is the importance of guarding our large language applications, and the second on the open source thing, and how IBM is, pivoting the important role in open source kind of community and Granite models in Guardian models in general for governance, right? Okay, all right. So let's get started with a quick intro about me. I'm a lead AI advocate at IBM. I have a total of 13 years of experience in research spanning across product engineering, Granite advocacy, and the research in general. And that's pretty much about me. Okay. We all know that AI is coming from everywhere, right? And be it the open source models, be it different kind of communities in our organizations, right? Initially, we used to think that AI is coming from only a single source, right? It's only coming from the organizational AI, right? Be it a data science team or the engineering team. But that number has gone really down now because it's already reached to 35%, right? What is the other source from where AI is coming out? Well, the other source from which AI is coming out is something which we call it as BYOAI, which is bring your own AI. This is something which comes from the specific line of businesses. Let's say if you have a line of business from be it a marketing, be it sales, healthcare, they will say that, hey, I have this AI specific to this line of business, and we wanted to bring this in, and you wanted to implement it. We wanted to bring that AI in. So that comprises of 22%, right? The other and the major part of AI, which comes from different sources, is something called embedded AI. This is the AI which comes from the software we already run, right? And Gartner predicts that 80% of AI vendors, they're actually on a track of embedding Gen AI capabilities into their product capabilities by 2026. So that number in itself is huge. So we are in a world where AI is everywhere, right? Similarly, data is coming from everywhere, right? We used to think that we are only interacting with structured data, but that's not true in this world. We used to think that the data is centrally managed, centrally owned, one stack over the other, but that's not true in this world. Thanks to LLM models and the unstructured data, we have crossed that number to 80%, which comprises of the unstructured data. And it's really difficult to get the real value of that data because it's everywhere, right? With that, with data being everywhere and being AI being everywhere surrounding us, we have really, really high expectations from AI in 2025 and going beyond. This is something which we are already experiencing. And with that, the ultimate question, the legitimate question rather, would be, where are we at right now in AI and Gen AI space? If you see, this is the most recent study about what is expectations of most of the leaders from the organizations. What do they expect from the, in terms of the expectations from AI? We see that 92% of AI, they expect that they will be having the investments in AI. Out of that 92%, they expect that they will get 87% ROI from that, right? Which is pretty much high expectations, isn't it so? Are you feeling the same thing in your organizations? Yeah, right. I'm very glad that this is something resonating with the developer communities, because our focus is something about what developer communities are facing, and we should actually implement their thought process into the real practice. Okay. When we talk about the out of this expectation, more than 50% will have, they are expecting that it will boost the AI investments. More than 50% is pretty much huge, because we are still in the trajectory of adoption of Gen AI capabilities, right? We are not there fully. So there is a good news and there's a bad news. So let's focus on the good news first. The good news is that the right investments unlock the more power, right? The right investments, for every single dollar a company invests in Gen AI capabilities, they are actually seeing an average return of more than 3.5%, right? So that's a good news, but that is not there. That's not enough, right? We also have a bad news. The bad news is that AI, more than 80% of AI projects, in general, the Gen AI projects, they are actually having, they are failing, right? Why are they failing? They are failing because of the two reasons. One, they're not meeting the ROI expectations. And the second is that they are failing because they are not aligning with the business values, right? The ROI values, right? So this is very interesting, and I always look at this curve and the and the kind of pace we are in. This is something we really need to think about, and we really need to ponder about. This is Gen AI at the tech Gartner's tech curve, hype curve, which we call. We have just passed the pace, that curve. We have just passed that curve. And half of the CIOs, they feel that we have still not yet met the expectations, right? That's because that's why we are feeling that we are at the peak and in the trough at the same time. So it's a very juggle kind of a situation or times which we are, in. And that's because there are two kinds of races going on in the technological world. I'm sure you people also feel the same. Then and there we have all the frameworks coming up, and you implement, you try out, experiment, and then you see projects are failing, the use cases are failing, and you say, oh, what's this going on? We are not actually seeing the ROI, like the benefit of implementing all this, right? That's the tech vendor race. So the tech vendor race is something which is happening outside the organization in the industry. That's what we see every then and there the news is coming up. But what we felt that so far is that everybody will tell you that this is your race. You have to follow that race, and unless you follow this race, you will fall behind. That's where we fall in. But that's not your race, to be very honest. Why? Because there is another race going on, which is AI outcome race. That is a race to deliver business outcomes safely, securely, and at scale. So that is your race. So I'm very pretty much sure that you're feeling that you are in the AI race, but at the same time, to focus on which kind of race you are in is equally important. This is something the CEOs until 2022 felt that AI will significantly impact, only 20% of them, they felt that AI will significantly impact their industries, right? But that number has gone little bit half the, the bars, which is contributing around 60% by 2023. And it is again, leaping out for even more higher number. But what does that mean? That, again, you are in the AI space, the race is going on very fast, but the crux of the matter is that you set your pace. You set your pace by defining what outcome you want to build in your organization, which is pretty much safe, secure, and reliable. All right. So this is something which I feel that is equally important to consider, because with the paces, with the races, paces, and the expectations going on in the market, we sometimes don't get enough time to think about while building these LLM applications or while building these AI applications, to think about what are the risks which are coming along with these, right? So if you see that with increasing task complexities, right, we also see there is a really, really high risks coming along with that. And that number is exactly increasing with a significant rate. So with more complex tools, we have more risks. That's because we are losing the visibility in the process, not only for the black box models, but also for the risks, right? We don't have really the control over what are the risks. We actually don't know what risks are there, right? With that, we really need to have a system, a very robust and very clear system, first to identify a risk identification system, and then to how the second, of course, will follow up how to mitigate them, right? That's very, very important for, and the foundation for building secure LLM applications. But one thing which is very bottleneck, which we feel all the time, is every AI model is different, right? And the risks which are relevant to one kind of AI model might not fit the other ones, right? That's why it's very, very important to consider the environment or the context in which a AI model is being interpreted or it is implemented, right? With that, it is very important to understand that how can we categorize risks in a more efficient or more categorical way, right? This identification or this categorization is something which I felt really relevant to my understanding. And I feel that this is, in general, the organizational level of understanding as well, where we feel that risks are of two major categories. One is the organizational risks, and the second is the systemic or the system level risks, right? When we talk about organizational risks, what do you really mean by that? These are the risks which business leaders really need to think about before even implementing those ideas into practice, right? It uncovers the relevance of, what is the relevance of implementing AI in that business context. We see everywhere businesses talking about, let's implement AI in this use case. We cannot really implement AI, we cannot throw AI for all the use cases, right? It's really important to understand the relevance if AI is a good solution for solving that problem or not, right? As well as the complexity of the problem, business problem in general, right? Do we have the right or relevant AI expertise to begin with? Or do we have the technological readiness for implementing that AI solutions as well? These are all the categories of organizational risks which we think about like it's not, we cannot have a control over that, but it is equally important before you shift to the systemic considerations, right? And systemic considerations involves the model risks. Do we have the, at the model, which happens at the model level? Do we have the technical aspects for governing and providing the safe and secure LLM models or AI in general? And what is the impact on the users? That is very, very important to consider, because at the end of the day, we want AI to be benefiting the human society in general. We don't want it to go in the other way around, right? And also, we wanted to evaluate the applicability of AI principles, which is very important on these AI systems. All right. So while implementing all these understanding these risks, we believe that like the risks can be categorized when it comes to the implementation part, right? It can be categorized into two types. One is the data level and one is the model level. When we talk about the data level, these are the major, major categories of the data risks, which we face often in general when we begin with any AI project. The first is the appropriateness of the data. What is the relevance of how good is the data appropriate for that particular use case? What is the source of data? Source of data is a building block to begin that process of of that life cycle, right? Data quality, of course, needless to talk about, data quality is an important factor. Data poisoning. So this is where the harm bad actors will try to sort of provide some actions, do some actions to kind of have some harmful actions on the model accuracy, or inject some bad actors to make sure that your model does not perform in the ethical way. Then data diversity, we wanted to make sure that the data is representative of the user for which it is intended to be used for, right? And of course, data privacy, I think this is something which we can talk about for a long, because everybody wants to make sure that the data which we use, or the models which we use, should have the PII rules and regulations governing with it, right? Output risks. These are the risks which happens at the model level. We wanted to ensure that the model outputs, they sort of align with the societal, ethical, and the human basics. And that's where sometimes when it doesn't align with the human value, it doesn't come along with the value alignment, we see the harmful and toxic outputs, which happens very often, right? Fairness and bias ethics, which is very much common. We have seen lot of news is coming in the market for the fairness. We wanted to make sure that the model outputs are fair, they are free of bias, they should be representative of the users for which it is intended to be used for. Robustness. AI models should responsibly be robust for all the use cases which it is intended to be, intended to be used for. One of the failure which we see is the hallucinations. Hallucinations is something where the model will output the outputs which looks like it is profound, but it is in general, seems like it is aligned, but in particular, it is not, right? Privacy is another part of it. With that, I really wanted to spend some time on the implementation part of it, because so far we understood the risk and, we talked about risks and what are the different categories by which we can have that categorization. But how do you really implement that? That's the biggest question which we have. IBM has a very strong value on implementing, governing, and ethical consideration for AI in general. And I'm sure like people in the room are following up the news for IBM's take on the ethical considerations. That's why we have two open source frameworks, and we are really pro for open source, because we feel that the open source community is something better way of contributing to the AI community in general. Data prep kit. This is a kit which has a very huge impact on making sure that this identification of risks at the data level happens, because we talked about data and the model level. So we have two offerings. One is the data prep kit, which aligns with the governing AI systems at the data level. And Granite Guardian is something which happens at the model level. This is completely open source. Feel free to use it, download it, explore it, and then you will see the... I actually was initially not, to be honest, when I started the journey for implementing these governing systems, like implementing these solutions for my own use cases, I was amazed to see the capabilities of Granite Guardian. So I encourage you to sort of explore that. Data Prep Kit is an open source toolkit. As I said, it is preferably used for cleaning and transforming data and identifying the governing part of data risks. It has different transforms. We call it as recipes. The PII, the HAP, the deduplication, the doc quality are the main transforms which we have. It supports safety, fairness, compliance, and transparency. While as Granite Guardian is the rockstar, another rockstar from the IBM's capabilities. It's a robust suite of safeguards, which is designed to detect risks at both prompt and the response level. We actually wanted to make sure that the safeguarding happens at both the levels, both at the prompt as well as the response level, right? So these are the different risks which we have uncovered in that. So these are the resources, these are the research papers which come. So first one is Granite Guardian. This is something which will give you a complete understanding about how the architecture of the Granite Guardian looks like. AI Risk Atlas, this is very, very interesting. I encourage you to explore this AI Atlas. It uncovers all the risks which we have in the life cycle, which we encounter during the life cycle of an AI model, like AI life cycle. And then Data Prep Kit is something which we already talked about. These are the governance recipes at the data levels. We have 7 recipes. And feel free to explore this. This is an explainer. What is Data Prep Kit from IBM's? I would highly encourage to look at the Data Prep Kit explainer, and you will love to read this piece. So with that, I would little bit give you a glimpse about what is this Data Prep Kit, a GitHub repository about this and how to explore it, so that you will have an understanding about how to go about it. So this is the GitHub repository. You will find the recipes in the example section, preferably the data governance risk mitigation identification recipes there. And then these are the couple of errors, or we can, yeah. Yeah, you can find in the examples, and there you go. So these are the different recipes in the Data Prep Kit, which can help you save time actually while you are preparing your data at the AI in the AI lifecycle. Okay, let's explore a little bit of Granite Guardian. So this is the Hugging Face repository of Granite Guardian. Okay. And we have a very interesting part of it is that we have a UI interface, which will give you examples of how to interact with different data risks, the model as well as the prompt as well as the response. You can check out if you see here, these are the example of risks at the prompt level. Ask a question, give a prompt, it will tell you what is the probability of the risk which is being there in that particular prompt. So it will also be implemented at the response level. So when you click on the evaluate, it will give you the score. Very much user-friendly, very much, I would say, very helpful while developing the LLM applications. All right. So this is, I would encourage, we have a GitHub use case of risk assessment for understanding how to go about a step-by-step guide for implementing this Granite Guardian. I will share this link with you to explore the different risks which happens at the model and prompt and the response level. Very interesting use case which we have, where we had a travel agent where we wanted to understood, like when you give a prompt, how can we track the risks which are associated with it. All right. So, so far so good. We talked about implementation, the theory part of it, but at the end of the session, I would really give it a thought that how does all of these come together? This is a very critical question to ask. Why are we doing this in general, right? I strongly feel that governance is not something which is an afterthought. It's a culture which needs to be inculcated within the organization, right? And when we talk about how does the future of AI governance looks like, we are actually seeing different paces which are going on, where we're seeing that governance by design has to be implemented. It's not an afterthought. It has to be implemented while you're designing an applications, right? We are moving from risk detection to risk prediction, right? Um, when we see right now where we are at the risk detection phase, where we are just identifying it, right? And then it's like this. We first detect it and then mitigate it, but that's not the future we are heading to. We wanted to predict risk beforehand before it causes harm to the user, right? That's the way we are heading to. And of course, multi-layered, we have AI being, cross-functional. We don't want that governance will be applied or will be implemented for a specific use case. Because when we have a cross collaboration, we really wanted to have that understanding that when you implement these cross-functional domains, what is the impact of one risk over the other, right? And human in loop is very, very important. We cannot override that particular factor in general. All right. So a little bit understanding about, in terms of the tech stack, I really like this, the analogy of this diagram, because we are actually heading from tech stack to AI tech sandwich. Because earlier, what we were thinking that we have different layers, data stack, data at the bottom, AI at the data at the bottom, data at the top, AI at the bottom, AI at the top, and in between we have those layers interacting, right? But that is not something which is we are in that time right now, right? We really wanted to have a model, the central piece of that sandwich must be integrated with something called TRISM model, TRISM framework. And TRISM stands for Trust, Risk, and Security Management. And this is something which we are actually seeing that organizations are putting their lot of efforts in implementing that this sandwich is fully integrated into their systems, into their applications, into their line of businesses, so that when we see the real impact of AI, we can really trust on it, right? We can say that we can have full confidence on that AI model, right? All right. Last but not the least, we cannot mitigate or identify risk at once. It has to be iterative, because how can we identify risk at different stages well before at one step, right? So that's why I really emphasize on AI risk management, which needs a product-like thinking, right? A product development approach, right? Why? Because the AI risk, before the AI softwares used to be static. They used to be, static in terms of the activeness, or it used to be reactive, right? But that's not the case now. We are seeing that the AI landscape is changing. It is changing with the governing rules are also changing. They're evolving like anything. And with that, we need to cope up with that pace. So that's the reason we strongly feel that it has to be iterative, and it has to be, the feedback mechanism, and going back to the loop and then implementing the things in general will be useful. And applying the core AI principles for that product thinking will be an iterative nature, of course, the human-centric focus, which cannot be override, and focus on values, which is very, very important. And we need to consider the entire life cycle in general, not at a single step or a single phase of building LLM application for risk mitigation, but the complete pipeline for that matter. All right, so this is a repository. You can find those tutorials if you go to the main page of this tutorials, IBM tutorials. Everything is there for your exploration. I encourage each one of you to scan the code, explore you will really enjoy building LLM applications which are safe, secure, and reliable. And of course, we wanted to make impact at the age of morality, because we want to build things which are really responsible, really impactful, and really secure. Thank you so much.